we are. The top 10, folks, which will also take us to the A ranks. Now, these fights are absolutely incredible. These are just the fights that I just simply think, wow, these are the best of the best. The only problem is, there are 3 fights in this list that exceed all of these. Starting with... Welcome to the Death Egg, suckers! I put this fight at number 10 for the simple reason of being iconic, and also really, really difficult. This fight is accessed after you manage to defeat Silver Sonic without getting hit, since much like the Egg Crusher, there aren't any rings. After that fight with Silver Sonic, you chase Robotnik into the Death Egg robot, a boss bred for pain and pain alone. The main factor in this fight is timing, since jumping into him all willy-nilly will just kill you instantly. And you gotta hit him while he's walking at the right time. And if he rises up into the air, look for the reticle. I find it best to just head to either the left or right wall, and once it finally finishes flashing, spin dash out the way quickly. I know that this could turn off some people due to the sheer difficulty of the fight, but to me, the sheer difficulty makes this fight really iconic. And yet I find others that are better than this one. The music is also very intimidating. It serves a really good purpose, since this fight was heavily referenced in future Sonic games. Just goes to show that sometimes you just can't mess with the classics. At this point, saying that 06 is bad is like beating a dead horse. With that out of the way, let's fight God! For this fight, you control Super Sonic, Super Shadow, as well as the newly introduced Super Silver, as you use each hedgehog to take out a different part of his armor in the first phase. For Silver, you have to take out the first part of the armor, and then you have to use Shadow to take out the second part of the armor, and then use Sonic to take out the last part of the armor. And you have to do this while maintaining your ring counter, which can be rectified by switching hedgehogs with the Y or the triangle button. This phase is actually really epic. And it's surprising to me that this is coming from Sonic 06. And after you finish off this first phase, Solaris will rise back up and shed his armor and spread his wings. Now we get an orchestrated remix of his world. That sounds godlike. And now, you can also use all your hedgehogs to go all out on Solaris, though you can easily take him down with only one. From its sick design, the great variety of attacks, the music, the atmosphere, this fight is actually awesome. And also, this is the best fight in Sonic 06. I'm actually kind of glad that this game ended on a high, even if the events of the game itself were erased from the timeline, but whatever. I still think this fight's pretty cool. Hot take? Excalibur Sonic is the best transformation in the series, even if it's literal plot armor. We're going back to Nostalgia Town for this one because Dark Queen is one awesome fight from a highly underrated game. For this fight, you take control of the aforementioned Excalibur Sonic. This takes place after Merlina decides that she wants Camelot to last forever. But Sonic is actually against that, since he is more of a live-in-the-moment kind of guy, as he says so himself.
What good is a world that goes on forever? That sounds pretty lame.
Another reason as to why this fight is in the top 10 is because of Merlina herself. In the beginning of the game, she holds a flower and asks, why is the beauty of this flower temporary? And why does it wither? And then she keeps that flower and uses it against Sonic to beat the ever-living crap out of him. And her facing off against Sonic really shows the great writing of this game, which is something I don't get to talk about very often. And Sonic's character really shines through in this fight because even if he won't stick around, he just wants to do the right thing. Anyways, on to the fight. Motion controls strike again for this one, but unlike secret rings, they're actually quite useful. Even if they're a little finicky at times, but not by much. All you gotta do is dodge Merlina's attacks, break her shield with your sword, counterattack her slashes to build up your soul gauge, and then go to town on her. This fight can be kinda short if you do know how to use your soul gauge properly, but the build up to the fight, the story surrounding it, and as well as with me, the music for this boss fight, make up for that big time. Because this song was actually written from Merlina's perspective. Oh my god, I can't stress enough how much I love that song. Just listen to it.
Every world will have its test. Don't blame for what I have.
that good. It's that good. And oh, and after you finally beat her, you get to hear one of Sonic's deepest lines. Just listen.
Merlina, every world has its end. I know that's kind of sad, but that's why we gotta live life to the fullest in the time we have. At least, that's what I figure.
This is Sonic's character at his peak right there. On to number 7. Okay, now we get to fight Eggman at Disneyland in space! Okay, in my previous video for the footage of this boss, I used the Ultimate version, but I decided to switch to the OG version since it was better anyways. In this fight, you run down Egg Planet Park's massive elevator track and uses the Hyper Go-On power to power his attacks. And after that, you have to homing attack the hinges and then the cockpit, which will allow you to boost into the cockpit, releasing some wisps. Actually, Eggman uses negafied versions of the Spike, Cube, and Laser attacks, all of which I can dodge with ease. And if you manage to hit him enough times, the godly remix of Reach for the Stars commences! While this may be one of the easier fights, I cannot deny that I still love this fight for what it is. It also helped to inspire some other final bosses on this list, and take their attacks verbatim, for better or for worse. And if you manage to free all the wisps, prepare yourselves for the final Color Blaster, which isn't really impressive, but it's epic nonetheless. From the atmosphere, the design of the boss, the wonderfully orchestrated remix of Reach for the Stars, this fight is one of the Sonic series' best final fights, and for good reason. Also, listen to the Ultimate remix of the orchestrated remix of Reach for the Stars. It's actually really good. Here we have the first proper 3D final fight in the series. And boy, did this fight deliver. The next few fights on this list were really difficult to choose an entry for them since they were all really good final bosses. But I had to put Perfect Chaos at number 6, not because he's a bad boss, but because Sonic Adventure's presentation aged like milk. Despite being considered groundbreaking at the time, but shh. As Super Sonic, you fight Perfect Chaos on a destroyed Station Square, where you fly into him at full speed to attack the brain. This is easier said than done, especially on the second phase. We can't forget, we get introduced to Crush 40, and they was cooking with this one. Open Your Heart will forever be iconic, but the second phase is where things get a bit crazy. Not only will Perfect Chaos shoot tornadoes, but his freaking homing shots are more powerful, and his attacks go faster now. Also, don't mind this little camera glitch. It just happens. Besides being kind of short, this fight is iconic. Not only being represented in later Sonic games, it also made an appearance in comics as well as Sonic X. With all the awesome out of the way, cue the guitar riff! Okay, that's enough. Let's go to number 5. Here we are in the top 5. And these fights only get better from here. Here we have the king of all Metal Sonic fights in the series. In this fight, you have to play as everybody. In phase 1, you play as Team Rose, which is the easiest phase, Team Chaotix, and then Team Dark. We'll cross the next phase when we get to it. For the first phase, all you have to do is use Team Rose's Team Blast to breeze through it. I guess there's nothing else to do with this one. But things get harder as the fight goes on. Because in Team Chaotix's case, you gotta worry about Metal Sonic crystallizing your teammates. And if he crystallizes all of them, you lose. And if you see a red, blue, or yellow circle pulsating around Metal Sonic, it means you can only use a certain type of teammate to attack him, or a certain formation, whichever works. And with Team Dark, you also have to worry about your teammates being crystallized, but not quite as much since freaking Chaos Inferno, ba-boom! And after you manage to defeat Metal Madness, Metal Overlord will spread his wings and fly into the storm. This then prompts Team Sonic to use the power of the Chaos Emeralds to turn into Super Sonic and give Tails and Knuckles shields, despite the fact that they had super forms in the past. But that's besides the point. This is where the fight gets interesting, since regular attacks won't do a thing. Main thing you have to do is to find a way to fill up the Team Blast gauge, since it's the only way to damage him. What I also love from this fight is the sense of scale that this has. I know that it's just a thunderous sky, but that still has a great sense of scale to me. Also, Metal Overlord just looks awesome. I could see this guy in a Transformer show, or a game, or anything. And getting the S rank here is quite tricky, since you have to beat this guy in 7 minutes. But the time you spend fighting Metal Fatness carries over to this fight. Other than that, this fight is a great way to end Sonic Heroes. And I can't wait to see this guy in Shadow Generations when it launches this coming October. We're getting there, fellas. We're getting there. And to finish off the A ranks, we're going back to Sonic Unleashed. But this time, it's the one for Wii and PS2. As much as I love the HD version of Sonic Unleashed, I still think that Sonic Unleashed is still great for what it is, and its version of Dark Gaia is really the standout final boss compared to the former. For starters, it's shorter, it has less strict conditions compared to the HD version, and in this fight, you start off with a Punch-Out style fight. And this was a year before Next Level Games had their own shot at Punch-Out. This first phase is superior to the 360 version because you're actually the one dealing damage rather than relying on QTEs to do the work for you. Also, the second phase where you run to Dark Gaia's eyes combines all 3 of Sonic's segments rather than Colossus, Sonic, Nightmare Fuel, Super Sonic. Instead, you just go through those phases without much hassle, and those phases actually use the same exact layout as the 360 version, which is kind of rare for this case. Hit him in the eyes 3 times, Nightmare Fuel! And this Supersonic phase is more Supersonic focused, and that's what we want here. Not that the 360 version of this fight is bad, it's still a decent fight, but this version is just more fun to me. What you have to do is build up your boost meter in parts with rings, all while avoiding Dark Gaia slashes, which can take up the whole screen. Once you built up your boost, fly into the eyes and dodge rocks. Oh, and each flyby into the eyes gets trickier and trickier as the fight goes on. So remember to stay alert for those rocks. And remember to keep your rings up, because while they may fall slowly, you still need to build up your rings to build up your boost meter. And once you take care of the eyes on the sides, the big center eye opens up and flying rocks come everywhere. Okay, I've had enough describing this fight. This fight actually is awesome. And Dark Gaia actually looks quite intimidating here. In fact, he looks just as good as the console version. Overall, this version of Dark Gaia is a lot more fun, even if it's from Sonic Unleashed. While not quite as good as Unleashed, it's still an incredible fight nonetheless. And it sits pretty at number 4. Can't believe we made it to the S ranks. Now these 3 bosses are what I consider to be the best of the best. The pinnacle of Sonic final bosses. I could swap these around depending on my mood, but the top 3 Sonic final bosses are... We know we had to put Sonic Adventure 2 on the S rank because it's Sonic Adventure 2, onto the Lizard Boy. In this fight, you control Super Sonic as well as Super Shadow in order to take down the Bio Lizard as he fused himself with the colony through unorthodox methods, to say the least. And all because General Robotnik went a bit cuckoo in the head for witnessing his grandchild getting capped. Okay, back to the fight. You have to fly into his foils in order to deal damage while avoiding orbs, lasers, and the homing blasts. You also have a 5-minute time limit to consider because the Ark is crashing into the Earth and whatnot. This actually adds some suspense to this fight, and Sonic's friends will tell you that. And once you manage to get a hit on him, you will switch to another Hedgehog. And as the fight goes on, his attacks get more and more erratic. So you gotta be on your toes, my guys. Come on, buddy, don't forget about Live and Learn. That theme is awesome, amazing, masterpiece. Oh my god, it's amazing, it's so good. Live and learn! Live and learn! Live and learn! True men never find your way. It's live and learn. It's amazing. And also, depending on which hedgehog you finish the Bio-Lizard with, they will say different things. But in my case, I chose Shadow because it's poetic justice. We also witnessed the seeming demise of Shadow as Sega thought this would be the very last Sonic game, but due to Shadow's massive popularity, they decided to give him another chance in the sun due to Sega going third party, thus leading to the Year of Shadow. This fight is a pinnacle. This fight is amazing, incredible, the suspense, the presentation, the plot behind it. It's all so amazing. But I do need to talk about two other fights, so let's go ahead and move on to number 2. We're back to my favorite classic Sonic game. And this time, we're going to the Doomsday Zone. But once you get all the Chaos Emeralds, or Super Emeralds if you want to get the true ending, this fight is what defines a classic Sonic final boss. Not only does it combine an incredible atmosphere with its frenetic obstacles and music, but it also showcases the genius that this game has to offer. The genius in its simplicity, of course. In this fight, you try to maintain your rings as you reach Robotnik's final weapon. For this first phase, you have to trick the rockets he shoots to fly into him while avoiding his shots. But you have to fly at just the right spot to get a hit in. And you have to do this while maintaining your rings, which forces you to multitask. And after you trick enough rockets into his cockpit, you have to ram into him while avoiding some dummy-thick rockets. And each run-through into him gets more and more frenetic. And as your ring counter lowers, you have to act quickly. And then, just in the nick of time, you finally defeat him. This fight is just a pure genius in simplicity. This is an incredible example of a Sonic final boss. Nay, this is actually the best classic Sonic final boss in my own personal opinion. Also, the influence this fight had on the fanbase though. And as I mentioned from Mecha Sonic's fight, we got the Doomsday Zone music, which is one of the best boss themes in the series. Also, both this and Mecha Sonic have inspired the fanbase with projects like Super Mario Bros. Z, the Doomsday Zone animation, and this remix from the fan album Project Chaos by OC Remix. Just listen to this one, or just listen to the whole album. It's up to you. Okay, I know that putting a relatively recent final boss at the top spot will throw some of you off, but to me, the final Horizon version of the end is the best final boss in the Sonic series. And funny thing, this was gonna be the original final boss, but was changed to a minigame because of time constraints. And I would like to thank Sega and Sonic Team for actually including this version of the fight in some capacity, because this fight is just absolutely amazing. Here's why. This is fought after you complete the absolute ordeal that is Master King's trial, which utilizes the perfect parry, as well as the fight with Supreme beforehand. But this time, rather than going to space, the end takes control of Supreme and causes it to grow extra arms. Now, where have we seen this before? For this fight, you gotta knock over a cable that endlessly feeds Supreme juice. But this can be a little bit confusing for some people because there isn't any indication as to using Quick Step in order to lock on to the cable, as this can endlessly heal itself. Well, this may be my only shred of a nitpick that I have. It's barely noticeable when refighting him. And this fight also makes use of the aforementioned perfect parry, which has different frames depending on the difficulty you set the game to, ranging from 1 second to 4 frames. After enough hits from its energy balls, Supersonic proceeds to transform into Supersonic 2, which allows him to actually deal damage to the end. Now this is where shit gets real! What I love about this fight is that it makes the player guess as to what to do next. But I know that this could be a downer for some, but to me, this is what makes this fight amazing. And we also can't forget about the cinematics of this fight. And once you manage to side-loop his gun out of his body and out of the ground, this is where shit gets absolutely insane. Oh, yes! 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 The remix! Yeah! And then Sage conjures a barrier to protect Eggman, but it's not enough for her, so the rest of Sonic's group help maintain the barriers in their glitchy states. And now you gotta fight this guy like normal, and okay, what the heck's he doing right now, bro? He's just using a spirit bomb. Okay, is this gonna kill me? Is this gonna kill me, bro? Is this gonna kill me, bro? Wait. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, what? You can't do that! You don't do that! You don't do that, bro! Okay, looks like things are back to normal. Somehow. Good! Cinematics are so peak. I'm literally about to bust from how peak these are! Oh my god. Oh my god, bro. Oh my god, bro! Yes! Oh my god! Oh, yes! Oh my gosh, bro. And once you finally drop his health down to 0, Eggman prompts Sonic to fly into the barrel of Supreme's rifle. Then Sonic proclaims that he's gonna go all out and DBZs himself to become Super Sonic Cyber. Everything about this is perfection. Everything about this is so good. Oh my goodness. Yes! This is still incredible. Yo! Wow! That was raw! And now Eggman aims the gun up and... Look! Just witness this! Look! 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 This fight is just perfection, in my own opinion. Yours may differ, but this is the best final boss in the Sonic series. And all of this lands it at number 1. And 60 bosses later, we've made it to the end of this list. I've honestly had a lot of fun making this list, and it allowed me to beat a lot of Sonic games, as well as play a lot of Sonic games for the first time. And if you've made it to the end of this video, you're a champion. You're awesome. And I apologize for not being able to upload for the last couple of months. I'm sorry about that. As I said, I will get back to playing Sonic and the Black Knight and Sonic Unleashed. Preferably Sonic and the Black Knight, then Sonic Unleashed. So bear with me. So yeah, I love you guys. May God be with you. I will also be doing a Sonic X Shadow Generations live stream on this channel. The October, November, all of those things. Expect to see that in a moment. So yeah, I love you guys. May God be with you. Bye-bye. See you later. Peace. And have a good day.